and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And don't forget, buying from them is a great way to get new products with great discounts by also bringing in your used items for store credit or cash on the spot. Play it against sports at 48th and Vine.
Seems like just the other day, I was building my first house. I've seen many changes to our building market in Lincoln. It's been a fun road.
Bob Benish is the founder and president of Aspen Builders, online at aspenbuildersinc.com.
You know, we hear this a lot where I don't want to live in a cookie cutter home. Well, let's come up with some answers on what we're going to build, where we're going to build it, and what it's going to cost. One thing that we started doing early on was we started building neighborhoods. I'm a firm believer in character in your street and in your neighborhood. I like choice. I like variation. I like maybe something a little bit different in a neighborhood that you don't see in every neighborhood. I think it's great to have choices, its uniqueness, and I think that's what gives a neighborhood character. And I think that's what we've done over the years.
Make your dream home a reality and call Aspen Builders at 423-6811. Online at aspenbuildersinc.com. Your home is waiting at Aspen Builders.
Hi everyone, Kendall Warnock, A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. Spring is here. Summer is fast approaching. With weddings, vacations, and weekend getaways on your mind, do not let car issues prevent you from getting where you need to be. Car problems shouldn't be something that you put up with. Let us get you back on the road in comfort and safety. We diagnose all makes and models from Porsches to Hondas, Toyotas, and Chevrolets. We fix a variety of issues with all of them with our talented techs and our experienced staff. A1 Automotive at 11th and L, downtown Lincoln, always honest answers.
Hey, this is Jay Foreman, the host of Old School, 3 to 6 p.m. here at 93.7 The Ticket. And one of my favorite things to do is come down and meet all the fans before and after as they cheer on our beloved Huskers.
This message is brought to you by the Downtown Lincoln Association and 93.7 The Ticket.
Let's fly. Your next trip starts at Lincoln Airport with American Airlines. Now flying nonstop service to Dallas, Fort Worth, and Chicago. American Airlines connects Lincoln to major hubs and destinations around the globe. Wherever you're headed, LNK gets you there with new nonstop flights on American Airlines.
Now boarding.
Convenient, fast, and stress-free. Book your next flight at LincolnAirport.com. LNK, make flying easy.
Hey there, this is Paul Scheel, owner of High Electric. I want to thank our friends and loyal customers and introduce High Electric to those looking for a new electrician. We've been serving the Lincoln and Omaha area for over 30 years, from design to install, upgrades, and repair. If you are a homeowner or a small business needing some electrical work, call us at 402-466-6606 or check us out at hyelectric.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
This is Grant Wister. I played at Nebraska, and after football, I wanted to build something in Nebraska that I was genuinely proud of. Champ Roofing is that. We built the whole company around one idea: do the job right and treat people well. Roof replacements, inspections, gutters, siding, whatever you need, our team is going to show up, communicate with you, and handle it with real care. Nebraska homeowners deserve that. Visit us at champ-roofing.com or call 402-858-7449.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome in, Go Big Red indeed, to Andy chiming in on the YouTube, Facebook, X, Allo Channel 961. You can tune in that way as well. Wrap it up here, softball postgame show. Nebraska softball gets it done with a 4-1 win over the South Dakota Coyotes. Excuse me. With that being said, if you guys want to join in, 402-464-5685, Starting Haven text line. We can celebrate the win. We can talk about what's it going to look like tomorrow. We can even talk about the upset between Grand Canyon University and Louisville. It was a closer game than maybe some would have thought in there. But that is the beauty of baseball and softball. As I said before, when I was filling time, before we got to this post-game show, was we went through the South Dakota Coyotes schedule and how ugly and tough it was early on for those guys. I mean, those early months when softball first started going roll, they weren't seeing a ton of success. And then as the season went on, they still didn't find success. And then as the season went on and on, right before the Summit tournament, and then right as the conference tournament went on, they finally caught their fire. And they don't just, barely win. they win pretty convincingly, beating some good teams like Omaha to go ahead and win that conference tournament, which landed them a seat in regionals. Unfortunately for them, to face Nebraska team who was locked in towards the end. At the beginning, we can talk about that, a little bit of a slow start. But like I said, Nebraska softball, they get it done. The final score being 4-1. And some of the runs in this one. So for South Dakota, the only run was from Iverson. Iverson got a run pretty early in that game. And then Nebraska, a lot of it wasn't until later in the game. We had, let's see, one run from Williams, another run from and then she didn't have any runs. Who am I missing here? Core had a run, and then Bland also had a run, which add up to 4 total runs for the Huskers. And like I said, it wasn't until later in that game. South Dakota was leading it in the first, second, it was tied up all the way to the third, fourth inning. The South Dakota Coyotes finally take the lead. It is 1-0. And then at some point, I think I want to say it wasn't that fifth inning, we put in Fromm. Fromm ices them out. Fifth, sixth inning, Nebraska go ahead and both get 2 runs. Top of the seventh inning, Nebraska able to shut down the Coyotes once again. Bottom of the seventh, the game's already over. No need for Nebraska to go at bat, and they win it 4-1. I think, again, the thing that stuck out to me was, that you can't walk into any of these games. And the Grand Canyon Louisville upset pointed that out. And then, of course, the game that we just saw, even though Nebraska won, was a little bit of the same, where, listen, we can talk about what was South Dakota's record. Let me give it to you. And again, they're not playing a tough schedule. They were 20-34-1. They actually had a tie to Harvard midway through the year there. A team with 20 wins in 34 losses was in regionals, and they looked competent. It didn't look like a team that was fluky getting there. Maybe the bats weren't overly impressive, but the pitching was. And I mentioned Madison Evans for South Dakota. She looked like she belonged out there to be playing regionals. And that's just the type of vibe you get. We also got off of YouTube, Michael, 7-6 Nebraska baseball. He says, great job, softball. Yeah, for anyone who's missing it, we also had a barn burner in a Nebraska baseball. It was kind of unreal. And, we'll highlight this quickly and get back to Nebraska softball. We had both these games going on, both tight games as well. And it's a good thing that this one wrapped up, because I'm looking outside, 1040 O Street on our beautiful windows here at the studio. Rain looks on the horizon. So I don't know if this game would have went to extra innings, even if they would be able to finish it. It was a good time to go ahead and wrap that up. Even if they got to the bottom of the seventh inning there, if Nebraska needed it. I don't know if it's raining out there already, but I'm telling you what it looks like right now is impending bad weather. But to Nebraska baseball, while that was going on, Nebraska baseball is in a barn burner. They were down at one point. I left the show to go work in the back for about another hour there while I had the Carricker replay going on. It was 4-0. Not Nebraska leading it, Minnesota. Very similar to what the first game was, where it's like, boy, Minnesota's taken over. Nebraska didn't score runs in the first, second, third, or fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh inning. Minnesota had 2 runs in the second, 1 run in the fifth, 1 in the sixth, and 2 in the eighth. Nebraska scored all of its 7 runs in the eighth and ninth inning, and then shut out Minnesota 0 runs at the bottom of the ninth inning to secure the win, to make sure they're still 2-0 on the weekend. So absolutely, shout out Husker baseball. That was an incredible performance. It's a great time of year in spring. I don't know how often we get to be so jovial over the success of our softball more often than baseball. Well, I can't even say that. Baseball's won 2 Big Ten tournaments in a row. So shout out baseball for really the excitement they've been given, and Will Bolt and his crew over these past few seasons. And softball, I think we just know that softball is an animal. And baseball's had some up and downs, but they've done well in postseason. We'll see what this year's postseason looks like, but the regular season's been awesome. Softball's been great in the regular season. It's the postseason question. Can they get it done in postseason? You're hosting the regionals. Shout out to the Husker fan base. It looked awesome on ESPN Plus. A little bit surprised they put that on ESPN Plus, but that's another thing we can always get into. It looked awesome. The fans showed out for it, and rightfully so, because Fromm's kind of been the big story, and for obvious reasons, for what she did at Oklahoma, coming here to Nebraska. But then you get an athlete in Alexis Jensen, who's a freshman. You got that 1-2 punch of phenomenal players, and then, the batting's insane, and that's what, that's why people call Jordy Fromm the Ohtani of softball. It's like, you just can't find players that match that same MO. And as I mentioned, she was able to score a run in that game for the Lady Huskers. It's one of those performances that was gritty, but showed that team is locked in, that the pitching was still solid, elite. The batting just took a little bit to get the bat swinging. But once they got going, they were able to put it away later in that game. And then, from ice, just shut it down when it really mattered. So we will have Nick Wyman. I believe he's trying to get to the press right now in the depths of Bowlin Stadium. I will throw it to break on the other side. Hopefully, depending on where he's at, we can get him on a phone call on the LO VIP line where they understand the importance of exceptional service with a local heart. I also just wanted to ask him, what was the atmosphere like out there? It looked awesome on TV. And if you guys were there, I'd love to read your thoughts about the softball game as well. However you want to shout out any concerns, or if you just want to enjoy the moment and be happy and say what you thought was really impressive. 402-464-5685. That is the Starter Heyman text line. Again, 402-464-5685. You guys can also keep commenting on YouTube as well. We do got this one from your captain, Cody. We can get to that one later on the other side of things. We'll wait for some more to kind of fill in here. So again, one more time, 402-464-5685. I would love to get your thoughts via the streams or via the Starter Heyman text line. Don't go anywhere. We'll take a break. Might be a pretty short break at that, but hopefully on the other side, we can have Nick Wyman, who's down there at Bowlin Stadium, got to see the action live for himself. 93.7 The Ticket. I'm Harrison Arns. Don't go anywhere. We'll get back to you guys in just a little bit.
Nutrition Authority presents Fusion 30, an ultra-premium protein ideal for anyone wanting to look, feel, and perform their best. Fusion 30 can only be found at Nutrition Authority. Stop in today for a free sample, visit with a certified nutritionist, and get better than internet pricing. For store info, visit mynutritionauthority.com.
Gentlemen, are you ready for something beyond the ordinary haircut? At Scissors and Scotch Lincoln, they blend your old-school barber feel with your favorite watering hole. Sink into a comfy chair, unwind with a complimentary drink, and let their master barbers handle the rest. It's not just grooming, it's an experience. Whether you're prepping for a big meeting, needing to get cleaned up before family comes to town, or just need a little time to yourself, Scissors and Scotch Lincoln delivers sharp style every time. Book now at Scissors and Scotch in Lincoln, just south of 30th and Yankee Hill Road.
93.7 The Ticket is Lincoln's home for Kansas City Royals baseball in 2026. Catch all the action as Bobby Witt Jr., Salvador Perez, Vinny Pasquantino, and a pitching rotation led by Cole Reagans try to lead the Royals back to the postseason. That's Kansas City Royals baseball all summer long. On the air in Lincoln at 93.7 The Ticket.
If you want to make new floor shopping easier, come to O Street Carpet. Hi, I'm Steve Carper. Our flooring professionals can help you choose the best flooring for you, your family, and your budget. We eliminate the confusion. Even better, you'll be enjoying your new flooring much sooner. No 6 or 8 week waits. We'll install right away and save you money on installation. Floor shopping made easy every day at O Street Carpet. O Street Carpet. 1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
Hey everyone, this is Austin Orman from Old School with Foreman and Orman, live from 1040 O Street in the heart of downtown Lincoln, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. My favorite thing about downtown Lincoln has to be the year-round energy. Downtown Lincoln never stops. It's easy to get to, has everything you could need or want in dining, entertainment, and retail, and of course it has Lincoln's best sports talk, proudly located in downtown Lincoln on the corner of 11th and O.
This message is brought to you by the Downtown Lincoln Association and 93.7 The Ticket.
Is your air conditioner ready for the hot weather ahead? Get it checked now before you really need it. Call Bryant now to schedule your spring air conditioning service check. No matter what brand equipment you have, Bryant's trained technicians will thoroughly clean, inspect, and test to make sure it's ready to cool efficiently when hot weather hits. Stay cool and comfortable with air conditioning services from Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. 467-1111 to schedule your AC check. Bryant, whatever it takes.
At DWE Generations, having a plan matters, especially when it comes to protecting what's most important. They work with individuals, families, and business owners to help make smart financial decisions that support life today and set the foundation for generations. David Darlington, Russell Walton, and Cody Eiler bring decades of experience, and their dedicated team provides follow-through, answering questions, explaining next steps, and staying connected as life evolves. DWE Generations, a generational wealth planning firm. DWE Generations is a marketing name for individuals doing business as representatives of Northwestern Mutual. Visit generations.nm.com or call 402-483-7871 and ask for David, Russell, or Cody.
Bauer Underground has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know that the best workers in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and a pedigree of success. They're offering top-notch benefits, a matching 401k, and a $600 per year clothing allowance. Bauer Underground, a family-friendly company with plenty of room for advancement. There are so many realtors in Lincoln and Omaha, but don't get overwhelmed by all the no-names, plus all the different companies. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Real Estate is your go-to option, whether buying or selling residential, luxury, leasing, investment properties, or commercial property, small or large. Ben's team offers decades of experience, unbeatable customer service, and promises to fully protect your interests throughout the entire transaction. Call 402-419-6309 for all your real estate needs. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group of BHHS Ambassador Real Estate.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in as it's looking green outside my ticket windows. There's an absolute monster of a storm to the east of us. Hopefully it keeps moving south. I'm not a meteorologist, so look at the radar for yourself to confirm if you're heading in the direction of said storm. But, if you're driving, be safe, especially if you're heading out east. It looks a little bit, just looking at the clouds, looks dark. But this is the softball postgame show, not the weather report. Nebraska softball gets a win hosting regionals at Bowling Stadium, their first regional game over the South Dakota Coyotes, 4-1. It was slow and a little bit grindy early on in that game, but the Huskers only gave up one run, and then when they put Fromm in there, ice in the vein, she kind of took care of business. Huskers able to get a couple of runs, and no need for the bottom of the seventh inning as the Huskers had the lead and wrapped up in a good time, I should say, at the very least. And I do want to get this off YouTube. Might be the text of the day so far. Your Captain Cody, he chimes in there. And it's funny. He referenced baseball as well just now. He says, at this point, season ticket holders don't just need postseason tickets. They also need heart medication. He says you can also apply this to baseball. Yeah, 100%. This was, both those games were nail biters. If you were watching the baseball game was the Husker baseball team really likes doing this to us, and it's fun, but it definitely gets the heart racing to where you might need some heart medication. Again, the Husker baseball game that was going on at the same time, while the Husker softball game was also nail-biting content. Husker baseball didn't score a run in the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh inning. Instead, they scored one run in the eighth, and then 6 runs in the top of the ninth inning, and then shut down Minnesota to secure the win. Minnesota had 2 runs in the second, 1 run in the fifth, 1 run in the sixth, 2 runs in the eighth, and like I said, got shut down when it mattered most right after the Huskers ripped 6 runs in the top of the ninth inning, similar to, again, I keep referencing the Iowa, but the Husker baseball's bats' ability to get going when it matters is insane. If anyone was at the Saturday Iowa series, it was the 8th inning. The top of the 8th inning, we gave Iowa 5 runs. How does Nebraska respond? They score 7. In the bottom of the 8th, get right back on top. Husker baseball can be absolutely dangerous when their back is against the wall there. And you saw that again today versus Minnesota. Series 1 already. You got one more versus Minnesota. That wraps up the regular season, but they put themselves in great spot for the Big Ten Conference tournament because SEC bias. And I think what we saw with the softball tournament rankings, I think you probably got to win 2. And even then, I don't know if that guarantees Nebraska baseball hosting a regional, but to their credit, we're in the conversation because of just heroic efforts by those guys. And then softball, the same reason why you might need some heart medication is, again, this game was slow. It was 0 runs in the first, 0 runs in the second, 0 runs in the third. And at one point, Nebraska softball, bases loaded, only 1 out at the time. They can't get 1 run in. Leaving the bases loaded when you have a chance, when only 1 out at the time, considering what Nebraska has for a batting lineup, was surprising. It's not the kind of usual Huskers that we see that were inopportunistic there. But eventually they did get going. They got things right. But they did have some missed opportunities, and I'd be lying to tell you if they absolutely didn't. We got, also Cody says, we should celebrate the softball win today. They have been some upsets at other regionals. Yeah, we can take a look at those regionals. And it absolutely is. And this was my point looking at the regionals. And shout out unknown texter to 2538. Says great win, Husker softball and Husker baseball. Yeah, it's a full party in well, officially summer now, but with these two programs, the way they're performing, it's been an absolute treat. But when you look around, baseball regionals and softball regionals, and we'll focus on softball regionals because it's happening. Listen, we just saw an upset. We just saw Grand Canyon University beat Louisville, and not just beat them, but do it in a convincing way. And that's the team that Nebraska softball is going to have to take tomorrow, is a Grand Canyon team who maybe people were overlooking. Well, why would they be overlooking Grand Canyon? Grand Canyon's only lost 8 games on the year. That is nothing to scoff at. And again, they looked the part playing Louisville. Didn't look like a team that didn't belong out there. If you go 53-8, listen, conferences matter, but if you're 53-8, you're good. How good is the question there, but it's not a record that you can just kind of think we can walk into this one and win. A really dominant early start to the year. I don't think their first loss wasn't too, and again, they're playing Wisconsin, they're playing Notre Dame, they're playing San Diego, Princeton, Notre Dame, they're playing good teams. New Mexico, sweep New Mexico, really dominated New Mexico. Their first loss wasn't until they played number 21 Oklahoma State, and they lost 5-10. Then they just go back right on to winning, and then the next loss to another ranked team, number 13 Arizona, they lose 5-9. Then they go back to winning. The first non-ranked loss that they took, and they lost to them back-to-back actually after winning the first game of the series, was Nevada. They lost 3-4 and then 3-4 again. And then they go right back on to winning. They lose the game versus Arizona State. They lose the game to San Diego State, UNLV, and one more to Nevada. And I think that's 8. Yep, there you go. There's their 8 losses. So it happens like when you look at Nebraska baseball, and those conference games get a little bit tougher. I mean, we got swept by Ohio State. Not a single soul had that on their bingo card, that Nebraska baseball was not only going to lose the series to Ohio State, but they were going to get swept. And some of those final scores are going to be 10-0. When you're playing those conference series, when you have teams that are really familiar with each other, sometimes those losses happen. And Nevada seemed to have Grand Canyon's number this year. But I wanted to point that out because Dakota has been chiming in on YouTube. He's absolutely right. Like, you got to celebrate these wins because I don't care who you play in. These are teams that maybe they don't have a great record like the South Dakota Coyotes, but got hot when it mattered most, and is a team that has no reason but to go out there and give it their all because they're quote unquote not supposed to be there. Those aren't games that you can just scoff at and walk through. And credit Nebraska for being locked in enough to not let the pressure of the moment and not let the narrative of like, well, we should just run over these guys take over, and for them to start getting tight. No, they kept calm. Maybe it wasn't as dominant as people were expecting, but they got the job done. And when we're talking regionals, that's really all that matters. It's a double elimination. As long as you win the game, we're good. That's all you got to do. And now they got another chance versus Grand Canyon. And I got to tell you, this Grand Canyon team's legit, especially if you watch them during Louisville. This is going to be a good challenge for the Huskers. And if they can win this one, they just got to win. Well, hypothetically, they put themselves in a good spot with Louisville losing already. But I wouldn't be surprised if Louisville finds a way to climb their back up all the way to the top in that regional championship game, or if it's Grand Canyon in Nebraska going at it. I think, I'm not going to be surprised if Nebraska comes out there and is able to handle business easily, but I do want to point out that this is a good team. I mean, looking at their overall record was kind of shocking to see the teams they played. And when they're playing some of these tougher opponents, some of these Big Ten opponents even, they're not just beating them, they're beating them convincingly. And their pitching, I'd imagine, is pretty elite. Based on the amount of runs they've given up throughout the year, it's a tough team. And by the way, it doesn't really seem to matter if they're on the road. They're 30-5 at home and 16-3 on the way. So they struggle a little bit on the road. Neutral sites, they're 7-0, but they still great home and away record and a 53-8 overall record with a really long hot streak at the beginning of the year as well. 402-464-5685. You guys are always welcome to chime in if you want any more comments. We're still waiting for Nick Wyman. He's in the depths of Bowling Stadium, some might say, as he's getting ready to chime in here and call what he saw down there at Bowling Stadium, and maybe some of the reports from Rhonda Revelle and some of the players as well. We can look around at some of these regionals and see what's all happening. So again, to the point to where take the wins when you can get them. This is a great win versus South Dakota. I don't care if it's 4-1. I don't care if they beat them in a run rule and it's like 15-1 early. You take the wins when you can get them. Right now, number 5 Mississippi State's in a thriller. They're playing St. Mary's. It's tied 2-2, and it's the top of the 7th inning. You look elsewhere. If you go to what's happening in the Los Angeles regional, number 7 South Carolina, they're losing, and it's the bottom of the 8th inning to Cal State Fullerton, 3-4. Okay, so there's 2 upset watches already with the top seeds in there. You had a tight game going on right now between South Florida and South Florida, I think, just got the win over Washington. So I think it's going to be South Florida and Arkansas playing in that one. Over in the Knoxville regional, you do have Virginia not pulling quite an upset territory, but they're close. It's 5-3 at the top of the 4th inning. And keep looking around here, seeing if there's anything else that's really popping that is worth mentioning. We'll kind of wait and see with a lot of these regionals. But all that to say, yeah, number 3 Florida State got upset. It's another great point by Stetson. Number 3 Florida State upset by Stetson in the Tallahassee regional. So now Stetson's going to be facing UCF. And number 3 Florida State, since they took the upset, they're going to be facing Jacksonville State, and they're going to have to work their way back up. Like, how many people had Stetson taking down Florida State on their bingo card? I mean, this is kind of the beauty of, to me, baseball and softball, is that you get these crazy matchups all the time. Georgia Tech got an upset in the Gainesville regional over number 7 Texas State. It happens a lot over and over and over again when you go through all these brackets, you go through these regionals. And again, that's why you celebrate these wins, especially when you can get them in not just dominant fashion, but at very least a convincing fashion. 402-464-5685, Facebook, YouTube, X, Allo, Channel 961. We'll keep this thing rolling. And I'll be honest, when Nick Wyman gets in here, we might just keep it rolling, skip the commercial breaks. We're streaming only. We do still have Royals on the brick and mortar. And for reference, your Royals are still tied 0-0, top of the 6th inning now. Let me refresh. It's 2-3. They did get 2 runs. St. Louis Cardinals, though, leading by 1 run at the top of the 6th. So for Nebraska softball, as I said, the mission at this point is going to be Grand Canyon University. And let me get the official time on that. I think I know it off the top of my head, but let's be official. It's going to be 12 tomorrow. So 12 tomorrow, Nebraska versus Grand Canyon. If you want to go watch that one, definitely go do so. And apologies for getting distracted by the dark skies outside. I haven't seen a drop of rain, but it just looks like it's looming in the near distance. Good time to get that softball game wrapped up with. But they'll be taking on Grand Canyon tomorrow at noon, and I expect Bowling to be absolutely packed again. You know, weather forgiving, if it works with us, it'll be another great atmosphere for the Husker fans. And they did move the media press conference inside the Bowling. They were going to have it outside. So if it does rain, there's going to be a spot to avoid some of that overcast if it does come to that. But all this to say, I think tomorrow is going to be just an electric atmosphere. I'm excited for it. I think Grand Canyon's going to come to play. That's why I wanted to go through their record in their incredible hot streak that they had to begin the year, only losing, 5 of the losses just being conference game losses, and then the other 3 being against ranked opponents. It's a good team. It's a team that you just can't, again, walk into and expect to beat. On the bright side for Nebraska, they won their first one. So if they do take a loss, they still got more time to play and try to work themselves back into it. But I do got to admit, like, that is just a convincing Grand Canyon team. And I do want to consider, wow, perfect timing. We got Nick Wyman calling in right now. As I reach over there with Nick Wyman calling in, I did want to ask him if he got any chances to see Grand Canyon University. But let's go ahead and bring the man of the hour in. We got Nick Wyman on the Allo VIP line, where they understand the importance of exceptional service with a local heart. Nick Wyman, you were down there at Bowling Stadium. Now you caught a little bit of the press conference as well, but I'm just going to give you the floor, man. What stuck out to you?
Yeah, I mean, credit South Dakota. I know a lot of people saw the records when you come in and postseason, you kind of throws out the window. It's something we talked about, you and me, the other night as well, along with everybody else. You know, South Dakota, you look at the record, 20-34-1 coming in, and not the best record of all the field of 64 in softball regionals, but hey, credit to them. They came in here and played with no fear. Obviously, a lot of these players are familiar. That was a talking point we had we can get into later. A lot of these players are familiar with one another from their high school days. Hannah Kamenz and Jordy Fromm talked about that, and to hit on that note, I mean, I think it credits just how good high school softball is in the state. We've talked about that for a couple months now. Obviously, Ruby Malin down at Oklahoma State across college softball. Just a very gritty game in general. I mean, Nebraska had the bases loaded, had a very good chance, to opportunity to jump on Madison Evans, who coming in 15-14 in record with like a 3 ERA. And she was able to work out of danger a couple times there, walked a couple batters, had the bases loaded with no outs, and credit the Yotes, man. They made some tough plays to keep themselves within reach. Obviously, a couple errors there, a couple balls go in the gap that gives Nebraska the lead. Hannah Camden, Hannah Core, and Casey Hoffman all driving in runs for Nebraska. And Wahoo grad Autumn Iverson poked one over the wall to give South Dakota some momentum. You could really feel the momentum swing at that point. But, South Dakota coming here, play with zero fear. They look like a solid team. They look like they belong. I think that's the biggest thing. A lot of the times with these 1-4 matchups, you don't really know what you're going to get out of the 4th seed. Maybe they come in here with a little bit of nerves. Remind you, this is South Dakota's first time playing in postseason softball. It's something they've never done. So it looked like a group that just, played with zero fear. And Nebraska was able to find some clutch hits down the stretch. Pitching, Alexis Jensen continues to do Alexis Jensen things. And Jordy Fromm came in and got the final 6 outs. And that was something they kind of talked about during postgame, because the question really was what was the pitching going to look like this year? You obviously have a freshman in Alexis Jensen who's really answered the call throughout the entire regular season into today. And Jordy Fromm was obviously the ace coming in, obviously the face of NCAA softball, you could say. And how they were going to split the innings, Jordy Fromm said before the year, they didn't really know what they were going to do with the pitching staff. And now comes in, like, they're kind of a collective group where one of them will pitch 5 innings and the other one will come out and shut down for the save for the next 2 innings and make it work. And it's a group that, Rhonda Ravel basically just said, bend but don't break. And that's what they kind of took from this game. And facing adversity, I think, is one of the biggest things I took from this. A team who's been down in games to teams who are from the non-Power 4. They've done it against Omaha. They've done it against a couple of Big Ten foes as well. But a team who has been in those pressure moments where they have runners on base, the scoreboard they're down on, and they're able to just find a way. And I think that's the biggest thing. They're 47-6 for a lot of reasons, especially with the way they're able to collaborative as a group to be able to answer back and answer the call. So,
yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think you nailed it right there. That was the thing that certainly stuck out to me, was the Yotes looked like they belonged. That wasn't a Yotes team. It didn't look like they had any business being out there. What I saw was, you mentioned Madison Evans. She played phenomenal throughout that game. But the other part of it was all the names. I think they're familiar with that territory. I saw Bennington out there. I saw all these small towns. And me being a Nebraska guy myself, all of that was kind of interesting to see out there. And you're right. It was 0 runs for Nebraska until that 5th, 6th inning. And then that 7th inning, early 6th, 7th inning, you get Jordy Fromm in there, and then she shuts it down. And looking at that Yotes team who got hot at the right moment, on the flip side of things, I want to ask you if you're able to catch Grand Canyon, because that's going to be the next chapter for Nebraska softball, is a Grand Canyon team who I had to look it up, Nick Wyman. Their record was 53-8. Their only losses being 4 conference games, mostly Nevada. Otherwise, we're talking Oklahoma State, we're talking Arizona. I mean, ranked opponents. This is a legit Grand Canyon team. Your thoughts on what that matchup might look like tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, Grand Canyon, they are a ranked team, and you look, they're in the Mountain West Conference, first year in that conference as a whole, and you kind of bat your eye, and it's like, all right, they probably played lesser competition, which, to their credit, we see that in college sports with the Mountain West, the MAC, and whatever other conferences that go across the board. They play the schedule they can, and they did, and they won a lot of games. Coming into today, they had the 4th best winning percentage in all of college softball. All of college softball, they're good. They won games. If you're going to beat whoever and win 50-plus games, you're a pretty good team, regardless if you're in the Big Ten, the ACC, across the board, the SEC, the Mountain West, regardless. And they have a very good team. I know we had 2 players, obviously, on the show, Bach in the Black Shirt earlier this week, too. Jada Cooper, one of the best players in the Mountain West Conference, one of the best hitters, not just in the Mountain West, but just college softball. They have a really talented team. Shannon Hayes has a great program up there, and they had a nice little fan base. I will say, I showed up about the 3rd inning of that game, and there was a little Lopes fan base here. There are obviously some people who go to school in Nebraska, go there. People all across the country go to school to Grand Canyon, but they had a nice little fan base. It felt like a day in Arizona for them, and with the weather the way it was. But they had a nice little fan base there. Louisville, not as much. When I was walking in, a lot of Husker fans started to really pile up. And touch on South Dakota. I mean, Madison Evans is probably one of the best games she's pitched all season. They did shut out Omaha in the Summit League tournament, but on a big stage, playing in a packed crowd. The parking lot was full when I pulled up here, Harrison. I mean, there's people parking over the. So currently, the rain looks like it's coming. It's really dark. My weather report here. I'm in the car, and people are getting out here, and it looks like a mess. So I'm I'm free to go as long as you want because I'm stuck here in the parking lot because the Salt Dogs are also going on as well. So it is a party around this area of Nebraska. But the biggest thing from South Dakota, you touched on it, the players from Bennington, from Norris High School, from Wahoo, across the board. Delaney White made an exceptional grab at first base. Primarily was a shortstop and third baseman in high school while playing with the Titans. She makes a phenomenal catch over the shoulder in foul territory with nobody out to save. She drops that ball, Nebraska could probably find a gap. And then all of a sudden you're looking at like a 3-run game. They got out of that jam. And I think you could really feel the momentum for South Dakota at that point where they were kind of just playing with house money, just a team with no fear. They've never been here before. A lot of these local players, you mentioned that too. Anna Cannons didn't talk about that in the press conference, talking about just seeing, a lot of these girls have played against one another, Jordy Fromm included. A lot of these players have seen one another throughout their high school days, club softball days, and now they see each other here. And then Hannah also gave, the credit to the South Dakota fans. They had a nice little section as well. And a lot of those girls who are playing for South Dakota, they probably don't have the opportunity to see their parents here locally throughout the entire year. Playing up in South Dakota at Vermilion's a nice place. Long drive, though. So you probably had a nice fan base from the Bennington area, from Firth, Nebraska, from Wahoo, across the board, making the trip down here to Lincoln to play in front of their families. And that's a moment they'll remember the rest of their life, regardless of what happens tomorrow for the Coyotes. They're going to be playing Louisville at 2 o'clock in that elimination game. And even if they go 0-2, this is a moment they can say, hey, look what we did as a team who had an outside chance of making it into the regionals. They had a chance to potentially do something here, maybe do some damage. You're the 4 seed. I mean, we saw Stetson beat Florida State earlier today, and not a lot of people had that on their bingo card, but it's postseason. 0-0 is your record for everybody, and if you're here, you belong. I think South Dakota probably heard a lot of the naysayers saying, oh, they probably just won their conference. Summit League took the berth from Omaha, and they had a prove-it kind of moment tonight, and they hung with a very talented team. Obviously, only got one run with a poke ball over the fence from the Wahoo graduate I mentioned, Autumn Iverson. But really fun game, like to say the least. And as you mentioned, Grand Canyon, that team is full of studs. And Nebraska and Grand Canyon in a winner's bracket game. I mean, if you don't have a ticket or you somehow can make it down or somehow watch the game, it's worth the watch. 2 really good teams going at it, 2 well-coached teams as well. You're your money's worth tomorrow between the Lopes and the Huskers.
Oh, 100%. And I am not surprised whatsoever that there's a coalition of Grand Canyon fans. I'd be down there too if we won 53 games. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's something to get excited for. So I'm expecting some fireworks in that game. I just think it's going to be really competitive. I'm excited for it. And I believe that one's at noon tomorrow. Wyman, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that is the start time for tomorrow's game against Grand Canyon University. We'll have a post-game show for that one as well. And sorry, Nick Wyman, I'm also getting distracted by the weather. So you drive safe out there along with anybody else who's listening to the postgame show. There is a looming storm to the east. So if you're going east, just beware, and you might have to pull over for a little bit, depending on how bad it necessarily looks.
Well, I'm just stuck in the parking lot. If you're familiar with the Hawksfield Haymarket Park / John Breslow Hockey Center / Bolin Stadium parking situation, I pulled up and saw the parking lot was already full with tailgaters around 3 o'clock. And I was like, there's a game going on right now. So I saw the Lopes fans trickling in as it went on, South Dakota fans as well. And I was like, wow, this is nuts. I'm like, these people must have gotten off work for this. And Nebraska didn't start till about 6 o'clock. So you had about 3 hours, but I mean, what an atmosphere. I mean, you had people sitting out on the grass. You had people standing room only. It was really hot. I'll say that. I'm not used to the weather yet. I mean, as the summer progresses here, as the month turns to June, our bodies will adjust. But it was a really nice atmosphere on a Friday night, and the people, not everybody was able to make it to this game. I can't imagine what Saturday's going to bring. You got the pitch times right. Tomorrow at noon, you get Nebraska versus Grand Canyon. I'll be at the game post-game. Tristan Gomez will be holding you down back at 1040 O Street in the studios. And then you'll have an elimination game at 2 o'clock between Louisville, a team. The ACC's had a rough day today. Yes. Harrison, we talked. Florida State was hosting their regional. They lose to Stetson. Then you have Clemson. They lose to UNC Greensboro. And now you have this one. It's a rough day for the ACC coalition down there. So Louisville's going to have to come back, and season's on the line tomorrow. One of the best seasons they've had since 2013. So you have that game going on against South Dakota, a team trying to keep their season alive as well. And on the other side, and then after that game, those 2 games, you have a loser's bracket game once again. The loser of the Nebraska Grand Canyon game will meet the winner of the elimination game with a chance to advance to Sunday. So order of business for Nebraska is this next game, and next one up. These are teams here, they're very familiar. I mean, Rhonda Revelle talked about Madison Evans. She said she's been watching her since early February. potentially maybe playing them at some point, said they're a sneaky team, and talked up how, they just stayed in the moment, regardless of who's on the other side. They've had these moments with Penn State, with Rutgers across the board. I mean, the Penn State one, they had it with UCLA even in the Big Ten tournament championship. UCLA took a 2-0 lead, a very talented team in their own right. They're about to get started in their regional against Cal Baptist. But it's just staying in the moment and bend but don't break. And they've had a lot of tough moments throughout the year, but they've had to work it through and get everything through. And Rhonda talked about the energy in the dugout. Like, you leave the bases loaded, that's a pretty deflated feeling with nobody outs. Most of the time, percentage says you're going to score runs in those opportunities. But Rhonda said everybody's energy counts, all 9 batters and your pitcher included. Everybody's energy matters. And she said nobody really wavered in that moment because you're playing a team where you're expected to win. A lot of people are talking about maybe a run rule in this game. We see it across the NCAA regionals right now. There are a lot of run rules happening between 1-4 matchups. And regardless of the result, Nebraska was able to find a way. I think that's kind of been the motto so far this season, just finding ways to win regardless of who the opposition is.
100%. And just to add on to the joy that we've had today, just a quick shout out to baseball. I'm sure you had eyes on it, but they didn't have any runs in the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, 1 run in the 8th, 6 runs in the 9th to go ahead and win that game. So that kind of clutch factor. And you saw the same thing, I thought, in a lesser extreme fashion with Husker softball. Because it's funny you mentioned it. That was the one I was referencing before too, is you take these wins. I don't care if it was 4-1. I don't care if it was 1-2. I don't care if it was 15-1, you got a run rule out of it. When you get to regionals, when you look at Florida State and Stetson, as you mentioned, you take these wins, everyone's 0-0.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. So people had their eyeballs on the Husker game with Minnesota going on. And when Dylan Carey was batting in the top of the 9th in that game to give Nebraska a lead, his sister was batting at the exact same time, Brooke Carey for South Dakota. And we're like, oh, the Carey. He's like, showed up on the big board. Because it's like, I don't know. It was just interesting. Like, South Dakota had a lot of ties, very lively atmosphere across the board. But yeah, Nebraska baseball wins that. Man, Nebraska softball, they just find ways to win. I think that's the biggest thing with them. Stick to what they're doing was the quote that Rhonda Revelle said. And she basically said, we didn't win by as many runs as we expected. South Dakota came here, gave them a ton of credit for what they had, the game plan they had against Nebraska to battle the hitters 1 through 9. But they said, postseason play is what it's just what it is. You got to be ready for any situation that comes in Nebraska. Rhonda said they're going to have the same situation regardless of how far they go, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's Sunday, whether it's next weekend in the super regionals potentially as well. They're going to be in these same situations as the season progresses, and it's just a matter of how they answer. And they haven't failed really yet. They've only lost 6 games all year, but they've hit on multiple occasions on how to do this and figure out a way to come together as a team and just a way to just play Nebraska softball is what Jordy and Hannah Cannons they basically put together. Just play Nebraska softball. Know what we've done these last 50-ish games and just continue to do what we're doing. I think that was the biggest remark of the press conference. Just, they've had a lot of tough moments in games, regardless of who they're playing. They're just able to weather the storm and whether to just play as themselves and control what they can control inside that dugout.
100%. And with that being said, Nick Wyman, I want to give you the floor to hit on anything that we might have missed before I go ahead and wrap things up, because I'm going to head north and avoid the severe thunderstorm the way that these things tracking. So I'm going to give you the floor, whether it was from the press conference, from the game itself, or what's potentially going to be out there tomorrow. I mean, again, floor is yours. Wrap up on what you want to talk about for tonight's show. And, of course, you gentlemen will be back again tomorrow for the next softball postgame show.
Yeah, is it raining over that way? I just want to ask you, because right now it's just very dark. Is it raining over there?
It just looks incredibly threatening. It's not raining yet. I'm looking at the radar, and there is a big pink swell that is inching towards downtown Lincoln. So that's what I'm trying to head north for.
All right, I'll go the other way then. But I'll set the table for tomorrow. You're getting a Grand Canyon team who they looked really good. I mean, Jada Cooper and Trinity Martin are a great 1-2 combo in the top of that lineup. They may have the best pitcher in the Mountain West Conference as well. They are a very good team. They've been to this tournament 5 years in a row, have yet to make it out of the regional rounds. And if they can beat Nebraska, it's been tough ask to do. But they look like a team who was just cool, calm, and collected throughout. They got a couple hits early and got the bats going. I think that'll be the key for Grand Canyon again, because you can't really afford to fall behind when Nebraska's got the two-headed monster of Alexis Jensen and Jordy Fromm. I expect probably Jordy Fromm to start tomorrow. Not official, but I expect probably a Jordy Fromm, then maybe Alexis Jensen coming out of the bullpen. But Grand Canyon's got a heck of a team, and I mean, look at the conference. They're in the Mountain West Conference, but you got 50-plus wins regardless of who you're playing. You must be pretty good. You find ways to win. You have a battle of two giants in the sport, meeting in regionals. Should be a fun one. Noon first pitch tomorrow. We'll have to keep track of the weather to see if anything gets delayed. They put the tarp out real quick as we were going to the press conference room. We moved us inside inside. I've never seen it. I'll give Nebraska's grounds crew credit. I've never seen a college grounds crew move with such ambition before. They got going. They had the tarp out real quick, and they're ready to go. So, it should be a fun one tomorrow noon. I'll be out here, so stick with us. Follow along, 92.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Should be a fun one.
All right, absolutely. Appreciate you, Nick, and be sure to follow Nick Wyman tomorrow. Follow his Twitter as well. I know, Nick, you were giving good live updates of the game going on there. Hey, quickly, shout out, what is your Twitter handle for those who want to follow the live updates?
It would just be at Nick Wyman, Nick, and then WHYMAN, just how it sounds. No spaces in there, no underscores, just straight as it goes. So should be a fun one. Tristan Gomez will be back tomorrow morning. We have another loaded schedule as always, right on 92.7 The Ticket.
Perfect. We'll let you go, Nick Wyman. Appreciate you as always. And I will go ahead and wrap things up here. That was Nick Wyman again. Fantastic. One of our newer guys for us. He's been helping us cover it. He'll be out there again tomorrow for softball. They will have another post-game show once that one wraps up. And I do want to shout out all the listeners. It's great when you do these things and you see the engagement come back for it. Just looking at the viewership numbers, it looks phenomenal. There's a real care and passion for Husker softball. So I'm glad that we all got to hop in here and celebrate a win. And hopefully come tomorrow, we can celebrate another one. That's going to wrap it up for me. Appreciate all the listeners. Appreciate Nick Wyman for doing what he's doing. Appreciate Tristan Gomez for what he's about to do in the future, covering this one tomorrow. We're going to wrap it up here for 93.7 The Ticket. We'll have some great replays running it. Nonetheless, though, we'll be back at it tomorrow come 8 a.m. with the Husker Online. Then we'll move over to Business Builders. We'll have some high school baseball as well. Busy weekend for The Ticket, but a good busy at that. Once again, appreciate everybody listening. I'm Harrison Arns. That was Nick Wyman on the Allo VIP line. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.